Many times, youth movements want to do things on their own, and they say the older generation doesn't get it. And in doing that, they create a problem for themselves because there's a pride and an independence with that that's unhealthy. Many times the older generation thinks the younger generation has nothing to offer, and they stifle them and keep them down. And they don't recognize the calling and the gifts, and they forget that when they were young, they burned with destiny and calling as well. So in these meetings, it's not just youth meetings. You've got young people listening to elders and fathers in the faith, and they're coming to be taught. They want to be instructed in the ways of God. They're listening to what the older generation is saying, and the older generation in turn is saying, look at the passion, look at the hunger, look at the thirst in this younger generation. Let's join together.
Father to son, mother to daughter, father to daughter, mother to son. Father, we declare that over this generation, a generation that is bound together by the love of Jesus.
We in the older generation feel that the young people are very key and that we need to go forward together, not just hand the baton, as that saying goes, but walk together for some years. That's the biblical pattern.
So the kids, which is the children, like an arrow. The shaft of the arrow, like the middle part of the arrow, is like the adults, it's like our parents. The last part of the arrow, which is like the feather of the arrow, is like our senior pastors. If we're missing any part of the arrow's parts, do you think the arrow still works or still complete? So it's really important that generations really come together.
To me, God is always the God of three generations, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And He wants to use us together. The young people, the middle-aged, and the old ones. He wants to use us together, and He wants to use us against also the generation walls and gaps in the society to establish His kingdom.
I'm here because God told me and others about 25 years ago that those being born from now onwards are the revival generation. So everybody from 25 years of age and younger are the revival generation. They're going to experience a worldwide harvest, the likes of which I have not seen. And this is the generation that God's going to use to bring about that harvest. It is not going to be robbed, the future is not going to be robbed of you by Satan and all the things he's doing that are wrong in the world. You are going to be the generation that's going to change things and bring in a worldwide spiritual harvest.
Bridging the gap of the generations is a very hard thing to do. That's why in Malachi 4, 5, and 6, God sends the spirit and power of Elijah. But I believe that God would use every venue possible to convey that message. And I think Uprising centers on that message. And so when young people come, some of them would probably have already bridged it, some of them are struggling with it, and some of them are in a process. But Uprising can accelerate that bridge. And I believe that we have a lot of old leaders that come, and their heart is really to minister to the next generation. So you might say it's not just a young people's movement, it's a two generations movement.
Saudara datang ke tempat ini. You're coming in this place untuk membawa api dari sini. To bring the fire of God from this place. Untuk kembali ke tempat saudara. To come back to your different churches. Dan dipakai oleh Tuhan. And God is going to use you.
Once you're a giant killer, watch it. Many giant killers will rise up. And I'm sounding the trumpet today and saying to you, church, it's time to advance.
No matter how bad the situation is,
하나님이 답인 줄로 믿습니다.
God is the answer.
You are the standard of love in your family. You're the standard of love in your school. You're the standard of love in your neighborhood. And in your nation, the weapon is love.
He made you to impact a generation. He made you to lift up Jesus in the midst of a dying world. And each of you has a unique calling and function that no one else has. I said, do you live with a sense of destiny?
Jesus says in Sermon on the Mount, you are the salt and the light. Spread all around. Light has to get out. You cannot cover it under a bushel. You don't cover light. Light has to go and disperse itself throughout darkness.